I'm Susie Landolfi, and welcome to Be Crazy Well. Now, why would a therapist say that? Because we all have mental health struggles, even therapists. The good news is we have so much more information about how we can be crazy well. On my podcast, we don't focus on what's wrong with us. We want to know what happened to us. We're going to explore how trauma affected us, both negatively and positively. That's right. I said positively. It's called post-traumatic growth, and it's a real thing. Be Crazy Well will share mental health wellness practices, the newest mental health research, and most importantly, how we all get to create the person we deserve to be and the life we deserve to live. So join the mental health evolution and be crazy well. So, look, I am the one of the curriculum designers for Warrior Path. Have you heard of Warrior Path?
I have heard of it. I am
Yeah.
not super familiar, but I have heard of it.
Yeah, so we developed a curriculum for veterans and first responders. Actually, we did do that based on post-traumatic growth, not just the symptoms of trauma that don't help you in many ways, though many of them do. And so I just want you to know that when I saw the write-up of your book, when I read about you, and I haven't read the book yet, I thought it was a dating book. You know what I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit inappropriate, even though I am a licensed therapist, right?
Yeah.
So tell me the title of the book is, because something about being hot.
Well, no, yeah. So it's Cleared Hot is the title of the book.
Cleared
And
Hot, is that it?
yeah, and Cleared Hot is a directive in the military, right?
Right,
So what it means is that you've met all the criteria necessary to engage with lethal force, right?
right,
And so I chose that name for the book because really what my objective is to teach a few life lessons to let you know that you're cleared hot on your life. You've met all those objectives. You don't have to be holding yourself back. So because really, when we are being held back, it's us doing it, right? It's definitely our
right,
ego or
right.
whatever it is that's holding us back. So that's my intent is like you're cleared hot on your life. Whether you know it or not, you're cleared hot. Now let's figure it out so that you know it and you can.
So let me tell everybody who you are and what we're doing, because we've already started. This is the way I like to start a podcast. Like, let's just get into it. We're
Yeah, where's the intro? We don't need an intro.
we don't need no stinking intro. No, we do. We deserve one. Just so welcome everybody to Be Crazy Well. So that's another interesting title. So you and I are right in the same mindset of that. And I'm speaking with the man that has been unbelievably a disruptor. I'm going to just call you a professional disruptor, Brian. Brian Slade is,
I'm okay with that.
and he's done lots of things, one of which, of course, is his military, which I will let him tell you everything about what he's done. And he wrote a book called Cleared Hot. And I haven't read it yet because I just met you. I just found you. So, so I'm so grateful for that. And we're going to talk a little bit today about why you chose to disrupt the idea, because I'm a mental health clinician that believes we need a mental health evolution. I don't believe that we always know what's right and that everything has to evolve. I mean, mental health was drilling holes in people's heads at one time. So I'm glad we don't do that anymore because I'd have a whole bunch of them in my head.
Well, we still do it in different ways sometimes.
Yeah, and we still do some stupid shit to people.
Yes.
And there's still some mental health ways of being that do not work, that are not helpful. And unfortunately, once we get that hierarchy, we get those letters at the end of our name, we're the hardest ones to convince to change because we've bought into that training. What I know about you, Brian, is that you've been trained and retrained and trained and retrained and trained and retrained. And therefore, I trust you. I trust military men and women that they will look at something and go, wait a minute, this doesn't work that well anymore. Let's change it. Let's retrain. Let's fix that. So welcome to Be Crazy Well. So Brian, first, let people know a little bit about you what you want them to know about you, not what I want you to know, what I want them to know about you. And then let's get right into it.
Well, first off, thank you for having me. I'm always excited to do this and share because I really, I really feel like sharing is how stuff's gonna happen. Like,
Yep.
how the word's gonna get out there. I tell people all the time, share your story. You don't know when your story is gonna be the key to someone else's lock. But really, my, what happened with me was I was just, I was just doing my job, right? I'm doing my job as an Apache pilot downrange, and as a result of that, you get thrown into a lot of crazy scenarios. And me and my comrades and our brothers in arms, comrades, I should say comrades, that sounds Russian. Like so me and my brothers in arms get thrown in all these crazy situations. And even while we were there, I started to see a difference in how people reacted to that stimulus. Some people reacted, actually felt, grew from it, which is what I like to think was where I ended up, is kind of actually taking those experiences and going, oh, okay. And so rather than it being like a millstone around my neck, it was a cornerstone to a foundation. It was the same weight, right? It's just where we put it, right? And and then if you put it in the right place, you can build on it. If you put it in the wrong place, it's going to pull you down, right? And that's what I saw happening, even while we were there, but really didn't hit me until I got back. And when I got back, and I started to see how it was really derailing some people, and other guys were thriving, it, and myself, I felt like I was, those leadership lessons, those those near death experiences, those type of things actually served as foundational for my, not just my leadership, but my instructional techniques, my perspective on life, all these different kind of things. It served to benefit me, and I was like, well, why? So I really started asking the question, why? Why is there such a discrepancy in how it affects people? And so I got to the people with the letters behind their names and stuff. I said, look, you guys are professional. You tell me, am I a sociopath? It doesn't bother me like it bothers some of these other people. Am I a psychopath? And I really was worried about that. I was like, I'm like, why? And I was like, the biggest thing that bothers me is it doesn't bother me. And I'm not saying it doesn't bother me, but it didn't disrupt me. Right?
Right.
Um, and what we came to the conclusion was that I wasn't a psychopath. So there we go.
Well, wait, I'm going to throw something else in here. Not only you're not a psychopath, did you know, Brian, that somewhere between 25 and 35% of military men and women come from childhoods with child abuse? Some of it is horrific.
I actually did. Yes, that's what. So we drilled down into that stuff. We
Yep.
drilled down into, look, there's people that have better foundations to deal with this than others, and that's true. And that's the stuff that I can't teach you. Either you come with what you come with,
Right.
but we also, what the purpose of the book is, I found stuff that I can teach, or stuff that is teachable, right?
It's
And
trainable. Childhood
yes,
training. This is training, constant training in your life.
yes. And so that's really what we focused on. I didn't focus on whether you had a nuclear family or not, because I can't change that. I can't, you did or you
Right.
didn't, or whether you were abused as a kid or not. I can't change that either, right? But what I can change is you defining your honorable mission. I can teach you how to define your honorable mission. What I can change is preparing your mind for stress inoculation. That's something I can teach you, right? And what I can train is that the perspective should be that every obstacle, every trial, every trauma that you experience is really an opportunity just cleverly disguised, right? And it
Some
really
of them are very cleverly disguised.
very
Especially
cleverly
if they're the
disguised.
same ones over and over again, right? Because
Yeah, and the
I have
trick is
some
to
of
be
those.
able to realize that in the middle of it, right?
That's right.
That, that's the trick,
Yeah.
right?
That's the
That
pause.
that's
That's
hard.
the moment of pause. That's the essay you guys taught me. So I'm a civilian. So you taught me essays, situational awareness. Got it. Now I had that as a child because I remember whenever I heard my dad's car, I went into a
Mhm.
panic inside and had to figure out what is he going to come in and hug me or hit me. So I had situational awareness about who was in the house, who was safe or not. What I discovered working with you amazing men and women is that SA stands for self-awareness too, because I might be the threat I'm looking for. I
Hmm.
bring stuff into that obstacle, that situation. So I can't discard me. And coming back here, it's super important, meaning coming back into civilian life, to understand and have that self-awareness of what happened to you even before you went into the military, because some of those things gave you superpowers. Brian, you have superpowers
Well,
from all your experiences. You have some effects of it and you have some superpowers.
and that's the thing that I keep trying to point out to people too, is like, look, there's so many stories that we see and we glamorize. Like so and so pulled himself out of the ashes and came out and overcame all this stuff, and now they're this and now they're this, right? No, I disagree. So and so used those things and became that person because of those things, right? Because of the stuff that was happening for them, not to them, was happening for them, right? But he was able, so and so was able to see that and utilize that. And that's that difference between what I'm saying as far as the millstone around your neck that holds you down versus take that same weight and put it underneath your feet, and start to build upon it. And that's, I mean, there's countless, and I think almost every person that's in those situations, even the people that say, "Yeah, I overcame this," if you really drill down to it, like, what did those situations give you, right? When you got through that, how did you feel? Well, all of our gains really come from trials and ups. If we look backwards, hindsight is 2020, and that's a part of building the perspective moving forward, is acknowledging that most of your growth and most of the greatness that you are, which everybody has greatness in some way,
That's right.
most of it came from some getting through an obstacle, even if it's a self-imposed obstacle like a goal, right? If you get through those obstacles, that's where your growth comes from, right?
Have you ever struggled yourself or anybody you know and love with getting off the couch? In other words, what I'm saying is there a point where, because trauma is cumulative, we know that, is there ever a time, and what do you say to people? What do you teach them who deserve to get off that couch, who are so locked up in their hurt that they can't see that opportunity, they can't even reach for it? Do you have does the book help with that? What have you experienced? Has it ever happened to you? Has it ever happened to anybody you love?
So happened to someone I love for sure. In fact, in the book, a big part of the book is the fact that I was married to a person so I've been married for 5 months and we deployed for what effectively was 23 months. So 5 months of marriage, jumped into the 23-month deployment, and the person I was married to later we found out had borderline personality disorder, right? And so I was interacting with her, geographically separated by 8,000 miles, so via email, and Zoom wasn't a thing back then, but we
Skype,
had
I think
Skype.
Skype, yeah.
Yeah, we had Skype. It was like pause, while you talk, that kind of thing. But we, but definitely, I mean, she would go weeks and struggle with even just getting out of bed, right? Because of depression or what have you. And yeah, so one of the principles, we teach 7 principles basically, and one of the principles is build your team, right? And sometimes when you are on that couch, you may not have the strength yourself. You need that, right? You
Right?
need that. And a big part of that is saying to that team, I can't get off the couch.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? I can't get off the couch.
Yeah.
And so, if you create that team around you, they're not going to let you stay on the couch.
That's right. Or they're going to come and join you and bring some popcorn with real butter so you can talk it
With
out,
real butter.
so that then watch a great movie and then you all get up off the couch, right? Because sometimes
Yeah.
you have to meet people where they're at. So you go and sit with them in that couch
Yeah,
before.
everything's a muscle.
Yes. Yeah.
I think of
I
everything
love
like
that.
muscle,
Everything's a muscle. I love it.
right? And if you're not exercising, it's weak, right? And
Yeah.
so uh, when I first start lifting the weight, I may need a spotter, right? I may need a spotter to get it up there.
That's
And
right.
so, go ask for the spotter. But guess what? If he keeps spotting you, eventually you're gonna say, "Hey, just stand over there. I got this for a minute.
That's
Wait,
right.
now I need you a little bit." And after a while, you're gonna be able to lift that weight pretty continuously. And guess what? You can go spot somebody else, you
Yeah.
know?
You know, you mentioned something, some of the things that we get to do. I always say get to. I use a lot of words. I try never to use the word but, because I used to use it all the time unless I'm talking about someone's ass or my own. So it's always and, because two
Yeah.
things can coexist, right? I want to get off the couch and I'm stuck, right? So two things coexist. One of the things that I've learned and I keep practicing is the idea that principles are more important. They're the foundation. You used that word. I've been using that word for a long time.
Mhm.
When my thoughts and feelings are all effed up because of what I've gone through, and I'm struggling with my thoughts and feelings, I always have my actions. That's the good news for me, because now we know the brain changes from action, not from trying to change your thoughts and feelings. I still have some thoughts and feelings that aren't necessarily very helpful, but they didn't come from me. They came from shit that happened to me. So
Yeah.
go back and tell me, because I make sure that every decision I make, pretty much every decision, even be going into the grocery store, which I hate doing, and then I go in with a nice attitude, meaning I'm going in there to be respectful, even though it irritates me. So I feel, think irritated. I don't act it, because my
Right.
principal told me that I cannot do that. Talk to me about principles and how you use them, and what are some of the most important principles to you?
Well, so I mean, the principle you're talking about right there is really maintaining a positive perspective or grow a healthy perspective, right? Because when you go and you're going to do something that frustrates you, you have to maintain a perspective of, that's just that's a problem, but it's not a problem, right? That's a problem if I make it a problem, right? And so one of the stories I use to teach for that principle is when I first did roll into Afghanistan for the first time ever. I rolled in. I was the advanced party, me and two other guys. I'm a lieutenant. I'm 20, I don't know, something years old. Can't remember. I think I'm 28 at this time. Um, and I've never been to war before. I don't know what to expect. Neither do these guys. They hadn't been either. Like we're literally in a C-17 with three Apaches that are folded in there like sardines. And we land in Bagram, Afghanistan in the morning, early morning, and the clamshell at the back starts to open up. And it's like a movie, right? You see the little light, oh, what's out there? And I'm anticipating, and I don't know what I'm anticipating, but I'm like, there's a lot of anticipation there. And as it opens up, the first thing that hits me is it doesn't stink. I thought it was going to stink because this is war, right? I just automatically thought the air was going to stink, but it actually smelled good and clean. And I was like, what? That's weird. Now, if I'd landed in Kandahar, it smelled like shit. But like Bagram, it actually smelled good. And the second surprise was as it opened up, I saw mountains, like rocky mountains with snow on them, and they were beautiful. And I'm like, wait a minute, why is it beautiful? It should be ugly, right? And then I'm flying over those mountains and executing missions over those mountains. And I'm looking down at these mountains and I'm like, man, I would go snowboarding there. I could be snowmobiling over here. I could camping over here. That's
Wait,
beautiful,
wait, are
right?
you goofy or regular?
Oh, I go switch. I'm a switch foot. I can do
You're
either way.
switch. Oh my gosh. I'm only goofy, which obviously you probably already figured that out. Keep going. Keep going.
No, I put my feet even and I flip both sides. It doesn't. I go both ways. Um, Anyway, so we were flying there, and then we get a call. Then we get a call, right? Hey, troops in contact, you know, gunmetal, gunmetal, gunmetal. We need your immediate assistance. Suppression on the 120. We're taking effective fire from Taliban fighters, and all of a sudden that mood switches significantly, right? It goes from one of appreciating the serenity that you're seeing to getting into the gunfight. And then the gunfight is all you see. I mean, you can hear it in the background with firearms going off in the background, the urgency in his voice. You can almost picture his face down in the dirt because he doesn't want to get his head shot. And he needs help. That's why he's asking for help. So we're going to come in and help. That's our job. Yes, we will do that. So we come in, and now everybody in that scenario, the guy on the ground, us in the air, the only thing we see is the gunfight. The only thing we're engaged in is the gunfight.
Right.
And that is the reality. That is our whole reality in that moment. But that gunfight will end. And when we are in the middle of that gunfight, those mountains never went. The picture, the serenity, all that stuff that we saw that was beautiful, that was still there. Not only was that still there, that was there before the gunfight, that was there during the gunfight, and that will be there after the gunfight.
And if
That is the
people could
infinite.
do that during a fight in their relationship, I mean, think about what you just said and transfer it to our relationships with our children, with people we love, and all of that. If both people were capable of seeing the greatness in each other,
Hmm.
right? And then they have a situation, and then they, have an argument or a conflict or a disagreement.
Hmm.
They go through the disagreement. Wouldn't it be great if after the disagreement they could look right at you and go, Brian, I still love you. You're
Yeah.
a great guy. And even though I don't like how you leave the toilet seat up, I so appreciate all the other things you do. So thank you for saying you're going to put it down now. Like, what, how is that not a transferable principle and practice?
100% is, and that's why I teach it. Is that this you are, and you can use the term, and I mean my girlfriend will use the term. You're in a gunfight right now.
Mhm.
You know, like, okay, so remember the mountains. It's not just remember the mountains. Back up from the mountains. Get a little higher. Get a little higher, and you can see the curvature of the earth. And the earth is beautiful. I don't care if you're over the ugliest part of the earth. If you're at 30,000 feet, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And if you get up into the space, I've never been there, but I would imagine it would be amazing to see a celestial body floating in space. And here's what I like to point out there. When you're at the curvature of the earth, it's beautiful in every direction. When you're out looking at the earth from the celestial perspective or in space, there is no direction. So it just is. Beautiful just is. And that is the infinite. That is not the finite. The gunfight is the finite. That is something you're going to get through. You may have a scar when you come through it on the other side, but it will end. And the beauty always just is. Right. And so that's what I tried to. So, yeah, okay. How do you keep that when you're in the fight? How do you keep that in the back of your head while you're in the fight? Well, everything's a muscle. So it's something you have to start exercising. And there
Yeah,
are
that's right.
techniques that you can teach yourself to where when you are in the middle of an obstacle, a trial, or even experiencing a trauma, you will realize that I come through this, there's growth on the other side. This is an opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know what the opportunity is, but
is
it's
right.
here.
And practice, here's what's interesting. So one of the things you guys, men and women, taught me was you practice stuff even though you know you're not going to use it tomorrow or the next day or maybe ever. Not everybody goes downrange. Everybody trains to go downrange. Not everybody does. So speak to me about the idea that it's too late to practice that in the firefight. If I don't practice my wellness, my ability to see the curvature of the earth, to see the bigger picture, to see the beauty, and to know that this is finite, I'm using all your words now. If I don't practice that ability to take a deep breath and watch what comes out of my mouth, not somebody else's, my mouth, that's all I'm responsible for. I'm not necessarily going to be able to use it when the shit hits the fan. So talk to me about
So are you reading down my principles on my website? I mean, that's number two.
Oh,
So
no, I'm
um
not. I did, but wait, listen, we might be distantly related, but that's
number two is practice chair flying. And okay, what's that? Is that Harry Potter language? It's a technique that incorporates to me it's like meditation, meditation, visualizing and role play all had a love child that's chair flying, right? So in a helicopter, when you're downrange and you're especially in Apache, there's going to be emergency procedures. There's going to be things that happen that you have to react to quickly and you have to be prepared to. And you don't know what they're going to be. You don't know how it's going to roll out. But chair flying is the art of actually preparing your mind for those things ahead of time, so that when they happen, not only do you react appropriately, but you react with the necessary expedition, right? Expedition. What word am I looking for?
right.
Expedience with the right expedience. Sorry. And so, like what I'll give an example. There was a time, there was on one mission, we had just got cleared hot on the enemy. And we got cleared to roll in on an azimuth to engage the enemy. We hadn't engaged anything yet. We were developing it. We were figuring it out to get the cleared hot, right? Meet all the criteria. And as we rolled in, we were rolling. I was in a bank angle, and simultaneously, my engine gets shot out. My co-pilot's leg gets blown nearly off, and my flight controls are down. So he's screaming immediately blood curdling screams that are in my radio. We're falling because I just lost power from an engine. and I'll go to correct the controls to adjust that, and they're jammed, right? There's things that have to happen, and they have to happen now, and they have to happen in the right order, or else we're going to be landing upside down next to Paladin 5. And that doesn't work. You're not on Al Jazeera. So could I react to that had I not prepared for that scenario? I've never been in that scenario. That's the first time I've been in that scenario physically, right? But I had been in that scenario many times, or like scenarios when I practiced chair flying. I would do meditation piece to get my mind ready. So that I call it making your garden fertile. Make sure that you're planting, fertilize your garden so you can plant stuff in this garden, right? So that's the meditation piece. Get your mind right so that you're controlling the situation. You're about to go into something that could cause anxiety, so meditation is key. Make sure you are in control of your space. You get in control of your space, and then you start the visualization. And had I visualized my co-pilot getting shot before? Yes, I have. And what I would do. Had I visualized losing an engine before? Yes, I have. And what I would do. Had I visualized I'm getting my controls in jammed? Yes, I have. And what I do. Had I visualized all those things together? No, I had not. Right. But I had visualized compound emergencies. I had visual, and at this point it was late in my deployment, so I'd had a lot of real emergencies to go on too. But I had visualized those. So you visualize it, and you walk through, and you hit your choke point. You hit the part that you're like, I don't know what I would do here. And then you figure out what you would do, and then you start over, and you get through that choke point to the next one. I don't know what I would do here. You fix that one, and you just keep doing that so you go from start to finish smooth as butter, right? So you get start to finish smooth as you can. Now I'm throwing in variables. Now I'm going to throw in contingencies. Okay, this didn't work like it was supposed to. Now I'm, and it even starts. Then I get down to like before any of this happened, something crazy just happened. My heartbeat just went from 60 to 2,000 beats. What am I going to do? I'm going to go, and now I'm going to talk about it, right? And this is what, and I will actually do the conversation. I will have it. I will move my hands. That's the role play part. I will move my hands and feet. I'll actually have the conversation out loud. My son still says this. I do this with relationships. I do this with difficult conversations. I do this with all kinds of things still. And my son's like, "You're talking to yourself again." I was like, "I know, I'm just chair flying something real quick." Right. And
Chair flying.
because, yes, chair flying. It's chair flying. And so we flew out. Spoiler alert: we made it. Right, I'm here. Right, and we didn't make it because I'm a hero. I didn't make it because I made it because I prepared my mind.
Because you practice, because you
Yep.
understand that. Some people would say, I could imagine dating you's a little difficult. I don't know if you're in a relationship now or remarried or whatever, but I could imagine when you do that, first of all, your son's like, "You're talking to you again." All right.
Yeah.
And some people would say, "Oh, that's negative thinking. Why are you thinking about bad shit? Why are you
Yeah.
like," right? I mean, I can't imagine how many times people have said that to you, is like, I'm walking into a place and you're not hyper about it. You're just, again, going back to being self-aware and situationally aware. I always use Bruce Lee. He didn't get upset before the fight, during the fight, or after the fight. He didn't even have to get angry. He just visualized what you said. He practiced, and he was able then to stay calm. So number one, getting your mind right, or I would say prepared, is super important on a daily basis. Imagine if we did that in the morning before we went out, so that I'm prepared to drive on the 405 here in LA, right? I'm looking forward to it because I've prepared the podcast that I'm going to listen to, and I'm okay with that. I'm a huge believer in that practice that you're talking about. Huge. Like, I can't think of anything in my life that helps me more than me to go through some scenarios with other people, even though I know I can't control the other person. I can control me.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
And it applies to everything. I mean, it applies to everything. And people are like, "You're going to induce anxiety." It's like, no, that's
Just
why you do the meditation piece.
That's
You
right.
do that meditation piece and you don't induce anxiety. And if it does start to induce anxiety, you go right back to that meditation piece.
That's right.
You go back to your place where you realize you have control, and you're teaching your brain you have control.
So here's what I hear all the time about meditation. We at Warrior Path, we were lucky enough to be supported by the David Lynch Foundation, and every single person that goes through Warrior Path learns TM, Transcendental Meditation. There's all kinds of meditation. I, as a horse person, happen to love hanging out with horses. Nothing
Right.
calms me down and helps me meditate more than to stand next to, 1,200 pounds that's just breathing deeply and, totally in the present, or walking meditation. I'm a huge fan of that. I'm a moving person, so I love to move. I love to dance. I can even do dancing meditation. And so talk to us about what you discovered. How did you even get into meditation? 'Cause so many people say, oh, I can't meditate. I can't sit there. I can't like focus on this. It's too hard and all of that.
Yeah.
Tell us one thing that got you convinced that this was a super practice.
Well, so I like what you said, that you just identified that meditation is as individual as a finger. I mean, how you get to that space is unique to you, right?
Right.
So for me, it was breathing exercise, right? And
Oh,
that's still what I do, is breathing exercises. And I read a book by Dr. Weil, and it's called Breath. And
four,
uh,
seven, eight, dude. Four, seven,
what's that?
eight.
Yeah, yeah, like
You know it. I know it too. Four, seven,
yeah.
eight.
And so I read it and it resonated with me. I
Yep.
was like, that makes sense. You're connecting both of your systems, your sympathetic and parasympathetic
Yep.
system, and you're controlling them both, and that speaks to your subconscious. Anyway, that's what spoke to me. Now, I know people that do, like you said, equine therapy. I know people that do meditation. They literally put something on their head that starts thumping them in the temporal, look in their temples. Like, figure out what works for you. But here's the deal: we all have a human brain. You can put it into a place where you can create a fertile garden. There is no I can't, right?
That's
There is. You
that's
just have to find what works for you. And I always suggest breath work to start off with, because it's really easy and it's free.
and it's the best drug in the world. It'll get you higher, quicker, cheaper than any other drug you can buy off the street. And it literally is the drug that will stop the flow of adrenaline. And adrenaline's great, don't get me wrong. I'm happy to have it when I need to run fast away from something or do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I also don't want to be having adrenaline again in the grocery store. You can now realize I'm not a big fan of grocery stores. So I don't want to have it then. So that
Yeah.
idea that breath work allows me to think better, do better. My muscles are stronger. I mean, let's face it, you can't live longer than 3 minutes for most of us without air. That has to be
Right.
the most important drug in your life, right? To live. Water's the next one, right? And food's the
Right.
third, right? So we should be looking at that breath work. And most people, Brian, do not know how to breathe. I didn't know how to breathe from a traumatic childhood. My breaths were short all the time, which means I
Mm-hmm.
was getting shots of adrenaline all the time,
All
all
the
day long,
time. Yep.
right? Okay, so that's that. And so I had to learn to breathe. I know it sounds funny and people go, oh no, no, you're not really breathing.
Yeah.
And we
So read the book, Breath. Your listeners, read the book. Well, read my book first, then read the book.
read his book first.
No, I know. Seriously, actually, maybe read the book Breath first. It really is something you can apply like the day you read it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And share flying is something you can apply the day you read it or hear about it.
yeah.
And you obviously grow it into a more robust system that fits your lifestyle.
Hey, wait, I just thought of something. I just started saying, because this is going to be a whole series of books for you now. And the only thing I want is a thank you. I don't need it. I'm just kidding. All right. So I didn't get a lot of thank yous in my family, obviously. So
Well, thank you.
flying, you're welcome. You're welcome. Chair flying, chair sex, chair loving, chair tripping, like going on a trip. Like you can use what you've come up with for a chair job interview.
I do it for all
Oh,
of them.
what about
Well,
chair
not sex. I
parenting?
haven't done it for
Got
sex.
to do the chair parenting one because you have a son. So
I do it constantly.
yeah,
Constantly. And my girlfriend says the same thing. Are you talking to me? No, I'm going through a conversation. And yeah, with Axel.
right.
That's my son's Axel.
Yeah,
So
that's wonderful.
no, it works. It works in every aspect of your life, and it really just does. Like you said it earlier. You can't control the other side of the conversation, but you can
Nope.
control you. And if you know the other side of the conversation well enough, you kind of can control the other side of the conversation by controlling yours, right?
Yeah, you can definitely help it along. Like you can
Yeah.
definitely help guide it.
Yeah.
And again, bringing up Warrior Path, one of the things we did was practice having a difficult conversation with somebody. Like, you've got to pick that person.
Yeah.
And we had the participants play the person, and then another participant in the retreat played you, because we'd been with you for almost a week, so we kind of know a lot about you. And this, it was amazing when we put the person, the participant who was struggling with someone else, in the chair as that person, how
Hmm.
different it came out, and said, oh, once I started to say the things that she or he says or does, I'm now have a greater understanding of what they're going through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Role playing is even more powerful with more players,
yeah, yeah,
So,
that's
yeah,
true.
I don't know if it's like you said, adrenaline and all that. I don't know if you got a chance to. I think you had the media kit to watch the gun video where the event that I
Yes.
just do about. Did you get a chance to listen to that?
Yeah.
So you notice in there, like my voice is calmer than it is right now when I'm talking, right? That isn't because I just had God's gift to do that. That came from church,
Yeah.
right? And that isn't because there was no adrenaline present. There was, right? But when you chair fly the scenario, okay, I'm probably going to get amped up. What am I going to do to get back to place? I'm going to take that deep breath and I'm going to talk calm until I really am calm, right?
Right.
Because initially, I don't know that I was really calm. I sure sounded like I was, but
Mhm.
about a minute into it, I really was calm.
Even practicing talking calm helps make you calm. See, it's that idea that we do different helps our brain and our emotions, which are actually the same thing now. We've just figured that out, that thoughts and feelings are the same. So the idea is, when I practice talking calm, even though inside I'm not,
Hmm.
my insides start to calm down. Like,
Yes,
it literally, like, so, and the other thing is, I could be calm and start to talk really fast and really loud, and trust me, my body's gonna go, holy shit, something's happening, even
yes,
even though
yes.
nothing is. So I am responsible for what I put out and what I take in and how I express myself. I'm responsible for that. My body isn't all that smart sometimes. Neither is my thoughts. They're not all true either. So that
Always.
is important. I want to ask you a question that is near and dear to my heart. So there's a book that I love to always recommend too, called "What Happened to You?" question mark by Dr. Bruce Perry and Oprah Winfrey. And it's a conversation about childhood trauma, and all the way in the womb, actually. Tell us, without throwing anybody under the bus in your family, were there moments in your childhood that did help you prepare for this? In other words, did this all come from your time in the military, or do you see situations when you were younger, now that you have a son, situations when you were younger that helped lay the pathway for you to be able to think differently about obstacles versus changing them into opportunities?
So the book, the first four chapters does talk about background. And the reason I do that is to show that there are absolutely lessons that I applied from my childhood, that I learned in my childhood, that I applied downrange. Those lessons grew and built upon themselves. They became more and more robust, but the roots of them, of many of them, were things that I learned in my youth. I in the book, I moved out at 15. I have been out of my home since 15.
Well,
Uh,
there it is. There's one.
right, and so there, that what did that teach me? That taught me that I can do it. Right, I can. If there's something that seems maybe a little overwhelming, a 15-year-old living on their own, paying for their own stuff, and still going to school, and still playing sports, and still, that's not common in our society. It was common at one point, but it's not common in our society. And you know what's funny is, even when I was 15, I knew that it was common at one point, so I knew it was possible. Right?
Right, right.
It's definitely possible. Everything around you telling it's probably not possible, probably not going to graduate, you're probably not going to be able to, pay rent, not going to be able to do these kind of things. And that's bullshit.
Yeah,
It's 100% bullshit. You absolutely can. You can, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're correct. That's cliche, but it's true.
it's
It's
true.
100% true. A lot of things that we say that are cliche are true. That's why we say them. Um, but yeah, so that was one thing I talked about, learning team building in sports,
Yeah,
and things that I did as a youth that that I learned lessons as far as synergizing and empowering those around you, right? I learned that through sports, and that applied later in life or death situation.
Mhm.
And so, yes, 100%, there were things that happened in my youth. My dad was I love my dad, but he came from that generation that is heavy-handed and is very, whatever.
Yeah.
And so that was part of the reason I decided to leave when I was 15. Said I'm done with this. I have a great relationship with my dad. And even when I moved out, I maintained a relationship.
Yeah.
It
You know,
wasn't like there was
yeah, my dad was
some
very verbally abusive because of what happened to him, right? So he was filled with all kinds of fear and sadness. One of my theories, and I work on this all the time, is that anger is not a primary emotion. It's a secondary emotion that comes from unwitnessed, unprocessed fear and sadness.
just said this morning. I'm sorry. I
God, you
just
and
had this.
I, like, I didn't know this was going to happen. So I'm
Yeah, no,
way
I
here
agree
waiting.
100%. Anger is a secondary emotion
It's a
almost 100%.
secondary emotion. If you can go to the source of the fear and sadness that was never witnessed, never acknowledged, because that's why certain things get you angry and others don't. It's that old thing is like you're upset about something and someone looks at you and go, why are you so upset? And they go, you look at them and go, why aren't you upset? Because they didn't have the same experience. It doesn't come from the same past, the same hurt.
Yeah.
So that idea is that my dad, as hurtful as he was and as abusive as he was, gave me my two best superpowers. That's just a fact. It's
Yeah.
a fact. He did that for me, not knowing, and it happened. So then I'm
So
able to look at my past, much like maybe you can with your dad, in a very different way. And of course, they change as well.
they do. Yeah. And so you hit on something that you were saying it without saying it. Your dad gave you your superpowers. So what does that mean? And you realize that. So in that realization, what does that give you?
Mhm.
That, I mean, that gives you gratitude, right?
And
That gives you
absolutely
gratitude for
right.
a situation that otherwise could be something that you look back with disdain. Rather, you have gratitude. And when you have gratitude, you can't have hate. And you can't have, and hate
And
is
have
something that
resentment. I can't sit there and go, oh, I hate my dad and he did all these things. Yeah, there was lots of shit he did that was not okay. And there's that and word again.
yeah,
He gave me this, and he did the best he could with the trauma he was carrying.
right,
That's
yeah,
really true. He didn't have the benefit of this conversation that you and I are having.
right. Yeah, so that's actually the sixth principle, is like I say,
Yeah,
release hate, and then we go into how you do that, and a big part of that is everything's a muscle. You got to exercise the gratitude,
that's
and you
exactly.
got to create little exercises, daily exercises that increase your ability to be grateful.
That's right.
It was funny. I was on a podcast recently. It's like, yeah, even if it's something as simple as the sun coming up that day, you can say you're grateful for it. And I was like, yeah, but you got to think about what you just said. Is that simple? Because what if the sun didn't come up?
Oh my God. Yes, that's like a huge big deal.
That's not a simple thing. That's
No,
the end of humanity. And it happens every day,
that's right. That's
right?
exactly right. So, Brian, just to first of all, I'm so grateful we're doing. I'm so grateful to meet you and to start to get to know you. I'd love to bring you on again, and let's go through the book. Like, let's get people to read this book, listen to this, and let's go through the book kind of chapter by chapter. Would you like to do that?
Oh man, I would love to do that.
Wouldn't that be
Because each
fun?
chapter has its own lesson.
Yeah, and what we'll do, and then you can tell the story of why you wrote it that way, why that was important. Writing a book is journaling. It's an
Yes,
important aspect of telling your story. That's how we started this conversation, which is
yes,
telling your story. So your
yes.
story is in that book. So we'll do that for sure. What's next for Brian Slade? Like what? And by
So
the way, the fact that your last name is Slade, I mean, you know, that it's like it could be Cody Slade and then you'd be a cowboy, but it's like Slade is like Slayer. Like you're like a slayer of the of all the hurt. And Slade is just a great last name. I just want to tell you that, and it so fits you. Anyway, what's next for you? What are you doing now, and what do you want to do?
okay, well, I'm happy to share. But first, I got to tell you, my son's name is Axel Bainsley.
Oh,
So,
okay. If
if he's not a superhero, that's his own fault. I did
That's
my
right. You gave him the right name. That's right.
yes. And honestly, he's an amazing athlete, and he's a super charismatic kid. He's adopted. I've had him since day one. I always say I got him wet,
Yeah.
but like but like he's African American, so he doesn't have my genes, but he is, he's supposed to
My
be the
Betty's stealing them out of the closet all the time. And by the way, I came from a mixed race family as well. So my
yeah.
stepdad was Native American, Black, and Italian. So and my sister married into an African American family, and I'm so grateful. Talk about
It's
gratitude.
awesome. It's
Yeah.
awesome, and it has its own challenges, things that I didn't even suspect, but it makes us who we are. And but to answer your question, what's next? What's next was what I had planned to begin with. The book was to get the word out there and get people start to converse about certain things. And I wanted to change this vision of a guy goes to war, he comes back, he's the shell of himself, because I think that comes from a good place. We want to reach out and help those because that does happen 100%. We do have those that are shells of themselves, but they're not broken. They're
Nope.
not broken. They have everything they need. They just got to realize how to put it together.
That's exactly
And
right.
they don't have to be, not only do they not have to be shells of themselves, they can be super versions of who they are. They
That's right.
can be better versions of who they were. And because not despite, because of the things they've experienced. And so that's the word that I'm trying to get out with the book. But I'm doing speaking engagements and I'm developing a curriculum that's supposed to get accredited. So we'll have college credits for the course I mean, the book isn't super didactic. It's really a story that's supposed to get the conversation.
Okay.
It's really a story that I wrote it in a way that if you just like a war story, you're
Mhm.
gonna love it. But if you like a war story and you like self-help books, it's insidiously gonna be a self-help book. Like it's not gonna be like in your face, but you're gonna learn lessons. And then we capture it all at the end. So what's next for me is hopefully speaking engagements and getting out there and teaching the curriculum and reaching as many people as we possibly can. I want to change the way that we look at veterans community
That's
because they have been given opportunities to be superheroes. And that's not just veterans. Okay, I say veterans, that is trauma is 1 in 3 people have trauma is what the statistic is. And I think that's
okay.
underreported. So we all have our own trauma and trauma is trauma, pain is pain. How you digest it is how you digest it. And we can all grow from it. That's civilians, that's first responders, that's military, that's everybody.
So, and when we post this, and this will live on the Coming Home podcast, they do a whole bunch of wonderful podcasts. What we'll do is we'll put the contact information you want us to put in to get in touch with you for speaking, and of course the book and everything else. So make sure you send me the bio and the picture that you want and the contact information that you want posted so that we're
Yeah,
doing that and giving people the opportunity to get to you. Um,
absolutely.
all right, because we need you.
Absolutely.
You're just like I said, you're a disruptor. That's what I said at the beginning. And I love disruptors. We need to disrupt some things. We need mental health evolutionaries. And you
Well,
are one
that's
of those.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'll take that title, and I'll be proud of it because we got to move forward. If we're not moving forward, we're moving
Right.
back.
That's
And
exactly right. Right. And I'm one of those people, I know everybody uses the word resiliency. Oh, we'll get you back to where you were. And I thought, shit, when I crashed and burned, I never wanted to go back to where I was because that's what helped crash and burn me. I needed to go in a completely different direction and I needed to go past where I was.
it's
And I
Phoenix time.
deserve that. Yeah, I deserve to thrive. So, Brian Slade, you have been such a blessing. I can't thank you enough. And I'm so grateful. There's that word. I'm so grateful to have been there. I hope you'll join us in MVP. We
I
deserve you.
will.
We
I
deserve
will. I
you.
have a connection to athletes myself.
Yeah,
I played in college. Well, I practiced in college. So didn't
perfect.
play that much.
Oh, that's all right. That's okay. You were there. Like as long
Yeah,
as
I was there. I
as
was
long
part
as
of the
you were
team.
there. That's right. That's right. You played. All right. Everybody, Brian Slade here on Be Crazy Well. I want to thank my theme song, actually, Brian, is called Be Your Best Self, written by Calvin Love, an amazing songwriter. So if you have a chance, listen to that.
I
Great
will.
words. And he's a great young man. I'm so grateful that he gave me that song to use. And until next time, be crazy well. Brian Slade, you're coming back, dude. We're not letting you go anywhere without us.
I'll be
We want to
happy
go
to.
along with you. All
I'll
right.
be happy to do it.
All right. Thank you so much. Take
Thanks.
care. Peace, love, and macrame. Bye-bye.
Love yourself.